Hello, Wolfpack. General market update. The market's looking okay. We're starting to see some altcoins pop off. Yes, we are still below all-time highs on Bitcoin, but I don't think that's going to last too long personally, and I'll get into that in a second in this video. But the main thing I want to talk about this video is altcoins, right? We have the total to index here, which is the altcoin, essentially the altcoin market cap for the entire market, right? So this is all the money wrapped up in altcoins, right? So it's excluding Bitcoin. And that is around 1.5 trillion. It's actually $1.47 trillion right now. What we can see pretty clearly, and we'll make this a bit bold so you guys can see it, we'll delete some of these indicators as well, is a very, very, very strong resistance at 1.5 trillion. We topped out there in May during the miniature altcoin season. We came back up in September as well before the correction, and we're coming back up right now, pushing against the top. Now, if we go back to the last cycle, and actually we don't have the data from the last... Oh, yes, we do. All right, I assume... Now, I haven't actually looked at this, but I'm going to be assuming that it looked very similar to what we're seeing now. And let's see what that was like. So we can see that in around December. We'll go back here to around November. Okay, and we can zoom up here, and what we can see is something a little bit similar, right? We had a bit of a fundamental resistance zone at around 80 billion, and we took a while, right? We came up there in August, and we took a long time through September, October, and we broke through in November. So the point of the matter is not necessarily that we had that resistance, but mainly the fact that we had the upside breakout at the start of November. Now, if I went all the way back to 2013, we'd see the exact same thing. I don't need to do that. I've done that in past videos. But the point is, what usually happens in bull markets, right, in the bull markets in Q4 is we have a very strong start of October. We correct down towards the end of October, and then we break to the upside to November. And that's what we're seeing right now, actually, across the entire market. So it's something to keep an eye on. It's something to be interested in. 1.5 trillion, you should be looking at that zone closely. When we break past that zone, I'm expecting this upwards move to continue. We might reject off it slowly in the short term because we are looking a little bit overvalued, right? We might come down a little bit and then break through to the upside. Let's see what happens. But essentially, 1.5 trillion is something we should be looking at on the altcoin market cap, or the total to index, as it's called. As for Bitcoin, we look okay, right? We look okay. We had a correction this week, as expected. I think we've had a correction for more than a week, actually, as expected. And we topped out, we bottomed out, sorry. That's actually the wrong thing there. We bottomed out at around 58. I think that Bitstamp might have some problems here. Let me see. Yeah. All right, we had a wick down. Okay, yeah. So we bottomed out at 58. And we had a strong wick down to around 56. We predicted the bottom to be around 57 at about, I think the 19th of October. Before the correction actually happened, we predicted it. And that's due to the cyclical theory, right? This goes back to what I was saying before, how the altcoin market cap usually pumps in November. Well, the cyclical theory suggested that drop. We predicted that it was correct. The cyclical theory suggested the September correction. We predicted that it was correct. The cyclical theory also suggested a drop in May. Yes, not to that extent, but it dropped down considerably in May, and that was essentially correct. And the cyclical theory suggests Q4 to be bullish, and that was correct. So we've got no reason to doubt the cyclical theory at this point. And so the correction is perfectly natural, right? And what the cyclical theory suggests from this point onwards is that the correction will be ending in early November, and November will be a very bullish month. Okay, so that's something to keep in mind. That's something interesting. What I want to do on Bitcoin is I want to bring out, we have a pretty clear flag formation, right? We can bring out here and draw to the top of a flag, and that's what we call flag formation, a bull flag, and we can extrapolate that data to the breakout point, and we can get a prediction for what's going to happen in November. We can see that in November we should be reaching around the mid, now obviously it's not perfectly precise, but around the mid 80,000s by the end of the month, right? So that's my prediction for November, mid 80,000s by the end of the month. And then obviously my final prediction is January the 6th at 113k. So I think November is typically the most bullish month for Bitcoin. We move up the most in terms of percentage on Bitcoin in November. We've done that every cycle. I don't really see why any reason, that could change today. Now, what I want to look at as well is the fact that, well, we've broken out of this descending wedge formation, and we've actually retested it for support, and now we're seeing a green candle forming. I would be surprised if this doesn't form very green, and we see a strong candle today, possibly up to that pink line there, which is our first critical resistance zone to take back. That would be flipping this construction. As for the Bollinger Bands, we can see that we're primed for a break to the upside, right? We're literally sitting on the center line, and the same thing with the 12 SMA, and the VVPR and the 12 SMA. So, look, it's pretty clear that today will be a strong bounce, in my personal opinion. I think it's going to take us up to around 63 to 64k on this daily candle. I'd be very surprised if we don't bounce today. If we don't bounce today, we might be seeing a bit of a further correction down into the 50s. But today looks like a very strong bounce. We've got that bullish MACD cross set up to cross again. So, if we do see some strong upwards momentum, we could be seeing a bullish MACD cross for the next few days as well. Certainly today looks pretty good. As for the weekly chart, not really much to say about the weekly chart. We're just kind of flatlining, and I get the impression that, a lot of people would be thinking this looks like a double top because we've flatlined here for a little bit, but I still think that, this week right now should be taking us all the way back to around 65, at least 65, possibly to all-time highs, right? I think this is going to be a very bullish week for Bitcoin because I think November in general is going to be bullish, as I said, specifically this daily candle, right? I've got high hopes for this daily candle. It would be surprising if we drop below here, in my personal opinion. But as for the longer term view, right, this is the Bitcoin index. Essentially, it gives us a history of basically everything Bitcoin's ever done. We can see Q4 every cycle is very bullish, and we've extrapolated the data and got our 113k price prediction, taking into account diminishing returns and lengthening cycles here. But, we're tracking pretty well towards our ultimate target of 113k. We can see within this blue box here, that is Q4, and we're tracking pretty well towards that, so that looks pretty good. There's not really much to say there. If we look at Ethereum, Ethereum is doing something interesting. What we had in the last cycle, and we've gone over this many times, is a W formation, right? All of the dates line up perfectly to what's happening now, right? We bottomed out in July. We topped out in September. We topped out in September, and we broke to the upside in November. What we're seeing now, well, we bottomed out in July, topped out in September, bottomed out in September as well, and then broke to the upside, and it is the first week of November right now. So we really are matching the cyclical theory perfectly in like every single chart here. So there's no reason why we won't just follow it through to the end. Now, as for Bitcoin, I want to go back to Bitcoin. In 2017, it did take us a little bit longer to actually break up to the upside in November. We got into, I think, the 12th or the 13th of November before we broke to the upside. So, it wouldn't be absolutely detrimental if we don't break to the upside right now in this daily candle, like I just said we would. But I think that's going to happen, right? The technical indicators are certainly suggesting that we break to the upside right now. As for the daily chart in Ethereum, now Ethereum's looking pretty weird, right? Because Ethereum looks like it needs to correct, if I'm honest. We've got a bearish MACD cross that is really on the verge of happening right now. We've moved up, basically non-stop from 2,700 about a month and a bit ago, and we're kind of overvalued on every indicator we're seeing here on Ethereum. So I really wouldn't be surprised if we see a correction, especially considering we're testing our all-time high right now at 4,400. We're literally right on top of that. So we could come back down to around 4,000, or maybe even the top of this channel at 3,900 before swinging to the upside. But it wouldn't take that long. It'd be a quick move. But the point of the matter is we look overvalued. Is that a problem? Well, we'll have to see, right? What could happen is we could actually just swing above 4,400 and flip it, and then consolidate for a while these indicators start, flattening out and getting into position for another bullish move. Now, we're not like particularly overvalued on the RSI, right? We're at 61. MACD's not as high as it's ever been. So, we could have a little bit of a steam left of a tank here, but you can see how long we've been on the top half of the Bollinger Bands here. Let's remove some of this stuff so you can see that pretty clearly. We've been on the top half of Bollinger Bands since about October the 1st, right? So we're due for a swing down, but I don't know, I don't think it's going to be sharp. I'm not really 100% sure if it's going to happen. I wouldn't bet on it, right? I'm not saying wait to buy on Ethereum. It's just something that is jumping out to me on the charts. It looks a little bit overvalued. It's not necessarily, set in stone what's going to happen there, though. As for the Bitcoin dominance chart, we can see that, well, it's behaving pretty normally, right? We're seeing, like we saw here in this last cycle, 2017, this is the 2017 bull market, we're seeing a little bit of swings to the upside as Bitcoin performs, right? We saw that happen. We saw a correction downwards in the start of November. That's what we're seeing now, right? A little correction downwards. And we'll probably see one more swing to the upside, possibly to this resistance zone here. I want to cross out this. I want to make this region between around 57 and around 60 is no longer the most likely top, in my opinion. I don't think we're going to be reaching that. I think we'll reach this region of 52 to around 49, right? So that's where I'm looking at in the Bitcoin dominance. I still think it's going to go up, right? Bitcoin's going to make another move, and it's still going to outperform altcoins for at least a little bit until it tops out. So Bitcoin dominance is still going to go up if the cyclical theory has anything to say. I just don't think it's going to go this high anymore, really. We're running out of time in the cycle for that to happen. So maybe a swing up here to around 52 to 49, and then dropping down for the altcoin season. That seems likely to me. But ultimately, the structure is still playing out the same. The percentages are just a little bit different. So that's what we're looking at for the market. It looks bullish. Recovery's happening nicely. Look, worst case scenario, we see another week of downwards or sideways. It really wouldn't change anything in terms of a cyclical theory, in terms of what's actually happening here in Bitcoin. But I think that right now, this daily candle looks good. I'd say there's an 80% chance this daily candle ends up at around the 64 to 63k region on the next close. So let's see what happens there. Obviously, I could be wrong. Ethereum does look a little bit overvalued, so we could see Ethereum dragging the market down. But generally, we're still on track. Regardless of what happens with him next week, we're still on track for a very, very bullish Q4 and very, very bullish January. So I'm looking forward to it. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed, and I'll catch you in the next one.